don't like this word democracy because I don't really think what we have in Canada is a democracy. For instance, we choose an MP who we have no oversight for or on for 4 or 5 years. They can be playing Xbox non-stop and we couldn't do a thing about it. They don't make any decisions. They can barely buy their own desk and chair. They get told by the Prime Minister's office or the party leader what they say, how they say it, when they say it, and how they vote. That's not much of a democracy. Democracy is people power. We don't have any people power in Canada. We just elect somebody for 4 years who then chooses somebody else because they're told to choose somebody else as Prime Minister who calls all of the shots. So that's a minor point to the answer to the question I think that you're asking. With respect to the Muslim world, the vast majority of the Muslim world was colonized. And we can go into why it was colonized, and a big chunk of that is to do with the military industrial revolution. There are question marks around the role of freedom of thinking in the Muslim world, which collapsed before the Renaissance took place in Europe. But certainly, this willingness and, to go around calling every second Muslim person an apostate, you are a kafir and all the rest of that, that's probably a contributing factor as well. But let's just accept the reality that the Muslim world was largely colonized. When the colonialists had left, number one, they had already taken out the vast bulk of the wealth. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've got limited resources left, and they left each people with political frameworks and systems which had nothing to do with the indigenous population. Jinnah was appointed as Governor General of Pakistan. Since when was Governor General indigenous to that part of the world? Nehru became Prime Minister. Since when is Prime Minister an Indian thing? Mm-hmm. I mean, so the entire edifice of what was left in place by Western colonial powers was brittle, alien, foreign, didn't work, was never going to work because culturally it's not part of the people. And so we have, as a religious community, suffered extensively for that. I'm not going to blame colonialism alone for the political mess in the Muslim world, but there's no denying that the Muslim world's resources, natural resources, were either plundered or in many cases destroyed by. Notwithstanding that, despite that reality of us being vulnerable to political violence as a religious identity, despite that, our homicide per capita is lower than in Muslim majority countries. That to me is a shock. Can you imagine what our murder rates would be like in Muslim majority countries if we had sensible political systems? There'd be a tiny fraction of what they are, let's say, in Canada.